You know, this is a fascinating episode of Dr. Stone for a lot of reasons, but one of the big reasons is just seeing how Senku got stuck on figuring out how to make a vacuum tube. Now, this particular scene from this episode might stun many, because Senku is someone that usually has all the answers. He knows the science, he knows the chemistry, he knows what needs to be done to progress humanity in terms of technology. He's proven time and time again that he knows what to do. However, we see a very rare instance within this episode where Senku literally hit a brick wall. He did not know what to do, he didn't realize or know what could be done next. And when you see how they kind of figure out the situation within this episode, many might come to the conclusion, why didn't just Senku ask to go mining for tungsten? Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. Why didn't he just say, let's go mine this? You know, why didn't he even mention it? And the reason for this is very complicated. Now, I'm not going to say that I know everything about, let's say, tungsten and, you know, how to mine it, etc. I'm no expert. But from a brief understanding of the resource, the mineral in question, I believe the reason why it was never mentioned, or the reason why Senku never talked about it, was because being able to obtain something like tungsten isn't something that is relatively easy, and it's not something that you could just stumble upon going inside of a cave or mining, because it is a rare resource. It's like he even said within the episode, it's a very rare resource, not something you just normally come upon. It's really rare. Now, in today's modern society, something like tungsten you can easily find. There's even synthetic versions of it from what I hear. It's very easy to kind of get nowadays. However, when you look at what he said within the episode, he says with the current age of technology, it's pretty much impossible to get, which makes sense, because we gotta look at where they're stationed, where, for instance, Senku and the entire group is at, but also what age they're currently in. So obviously, Senku's group, they don't have, like, I guess, high-tech drills. They don't have drills that can literally drill into the earth very far miles into the earth to be able to get rare resources. That is not a thing at this time, and it's not feasible to be able to make in time before Tsukasa initiates his attack. So making a sophisticated drill, not happening. Now, there is another thing that many need to be aware of, and from what I could briefly understand is that Japan, they are not normally mining their own resources. They do, but in today's age, Japan normally imports goods of resources like rare minerals, etc. But in the past few years, there actually was a news article that came out to where there is rare resources off the coast of Japan. Now, depending on where, you know, when the writer wrote Dr. Stone, and depending on where this story is taking place, if Senku knows about the resources that was discovered off the coast of Japan back in 2018, then I'm assuming that even if he knew about it, he knows that they can't actually go mining those resources off the coast, because being able to make scuba equipment to be able to dive down to such depths to be able to mine, once again, not really feasible. You might as well make a drill at that point, which, once again, they don't have time for. So, the point I'm trying to get at is, getting tungsten isn't easy, especially if you live in Japan. If they, let's say, lived somewhere in America, they live somewhere in Sweden, or somewhere, let's say, in China, somewhere close into those regions, they would definitely be able to probably get a lot of tungsten, or the resources they need to be able to progress their light bulb and make vacuum tubes. So I think the reason why Senku pretty much stated that it's impossible at this time is because being able to just stumble upon something like tungsten isn't easy. It honestly requires a lot of luck. And when you think about Senku as a character, he isn't someone that really relies upon luck. I mean, you even see this when he was making the, the drug to be able to heal, Kohaku's sister. We have that entire moment where he could try to find a certain moss or whatever to be able to help her, but he wasn't going to rely on luck and chance to be able to accomplish what they needed, so he decided to go the hard route and be able to create a drug through rocks and stuff to be able to heal her. So the point is, Senku doesn't like to rely on luck. That is not his go-to, that is not his motto, so it makes sense why he would completely disregard something like tungsten, because being able to find something like that in Japan is just, it's not gonna happen. You gotta go into a deep mine, and even if you go really deep, it's not guaranteed that you will find it. It is definitely rarer to find than something like copper, iron, etc. So there you go. That is my 2 cents of what I gathered from this episode to kind of explain why Senku acted the way he did. But once again, I really like that. It really showed some human qualities to Senku besides just being an encyclopedia for science and teaching all the characters. He does have some faults, and there is sometimes he does falter and fail, and others got to pick him up, and he's got to succeed as well. And that's where I really like Chrome and all that within this episode, or someone like, Suika, and how she pops up and she actually offers help and helps them get out of a pinch that they're currently in. It really makes me appreciate this series more now, because Senku isn't the only one really progressing humanity now. It's everybody coming together, putting their thoughts together to be able to push forward. So, let's get into the science and what technically was being done within this episode of Dr. Stone. There was a lot of progression technology-wise, not just for the vacuum tubes to the whole light bulb situation or batteries, but there was a lot of other minor things that was kind of skipped over or kind of skimmed over in a very quick fashion that many might not understand or gather from this episode that I kind of want to get right into. From my brief understanding, we never really seen the characters or the village have boats before, and I'm assuming that brief little montage we got towards the end of the episode was showcasing that Senku taught them how to make boats, how to fish, etc. Well, they probably already knew how to fish, they just didn't probably know about boats, the mechanisms of being able to actually fish like they did within their relative water source they had around them. It seemed like there was a lot of things that was done that really progressed their society in a better way. For instance, the whole, jarred goods. For instance, we know in today's age about canned goods, being able to pickle goods and save them for long periods of time. And honestly, it is something that really has helped humanity stay alive to this very day and make it to where we don't waste resources left and right, especially in winter seasons. And you get to see how they learn about bottling, and eventually they will get into canning, and it's a very important factor, especially for any type of civilization that wants to be able to have a lot of food stockpiled. And so seeing that little moment really emphasized that they now are going to be able to store food for long periods of time and not going to have to waste resources on constantly hunting even in the winter. They could just stockpile, and then when winter arrives, they'll have food because they have all these bottled goods. So I really think and in the brief little montage, there was a lot of things that was kind of skimmed over, but are very important. Like I said, to the whole fishing aspect, to the bottling of goods, to the whole being able to squash grapes and also make them into wine and all that, like ferment them. There was a lot of things that was done within this episode that I appreciate, showing just the natural progression of everyone within 2 months of technology. Which, by the way, you can really see that the villagers are really starting to have fun and really enjoy life and realize that with Senku's introduction into their culture, basically everything is taking a shift and life is becoming rougher, but at the same time easier, because they may have a lot more things that they're not normally used to do, for instance working in certain areas like helping Senku, but it is making their lives easier instead of just focusing on survival. And that's the big thing I think many kind of take for granted in today's era. See, back in the past, you go back a couple hundred years ago, humanity was more focused on survival than just having fun throughout day-to-day activities. Just think about it, okay? I know today isn't perfect by any means, okay? Today's life, today's society, and there's a lot of places around the world that isn't perfect either to this day. But skipping politics, etc., the point is that with the added modern technology to today, we're able to kind of enjoy life instead of focusing on getting up first thing in the morning and trying to go hunt for food, get water, come back, start a fire, etc. When you really think about a few hundred years ago, people were kind of doing this on a constant. They were having to really scavenge for food, and if they didn't, they would die. They would die from starvation. And with Senku popping up into this town and all that, teaching them and everything, it's allowing them to no longer just worry about every single day. They can worry about long term and enjoy their days and have fun. It relieves stress, and I think Senku's really kind of introduced a new aspect to their lives, which is fun. So I think that it's just really cool to see these little things slowly building up throughout the natural progression of Dr. Stone, and I once again just love the theme of the story. It's not something I would normally like, but I really like Dr. Stone for all the stuff it does to teach everybody while we're watching just such a fantastic story. So let's get right into the mining operation and who's going to be participating. So I guess I should start with the comedy scene. The whole character select screen gag that happened right at the beginning of that when they were trying to figure out who would be the third member to join Senku and Chrome, that had me dying of laughter. I literally rolled over and started laughing. Like, I was in my bed when I was watching it, I rolled over, started laughing because it was just that freaking funny. Because I didn't think I would literally see a fighting game reference or Jump Force reference within this episode showcasing each individual character that Senku and Chrome could bring, and you get to see their attributes, their health pool, you know, what they're good at, what their weaknesses are, etc. I did not expect to see something like that, and I really like how Magma wasn't even in the character select screen, but he popped up as an option. I'm just like, okay, that's pretty good. I mean, it's like a secret character that Senku unlocked, which, let's get right into it. Magma, as a character. As I've already briefly stated, I am happy that Magma didn't decide to just instantly join Tsukasa, because it would feel very predictable, and it would just, I don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of that. I would like to see some more going on with Magma and giving him some characterization slash development, and that clearly does seem to be the case that's going on here, is that Magma is about to start gaining a lot of character development slash characterization, because he is now going to be going inside of a mine with, you know, Chrome and Senku. Now, obviously, there's a lot of things that could potentially go wrong because of this, because even though we've had a lot of time that's passed, a lot of progression, etc., I highly doubt Magma's kind of let go of his feelings from before, what happened in the tournament, and it's even quickly stated within this episode that there is probably some individuals that aren't happy, which could be Magma and his crony, because it showed a screen of them while that was being said. So it's very obvious that Magma, even if life has gotten easier, he might not be happy, because he is a very basic individual, all about power, about strength, etc., and having something where power technically doesn't matter anymore might upset him to a large degree. So it would make sense why he wouldn't necessarily be happy about the progress, and I think he needs another outlet to be able to help him and to be able to be a little bit happier. I could see maybe Senku introducing something like a dojo, or let's say like a weight room or something very you know, off the wall to really give this man some form of purpose, and I do think that this whole mining operation might allow him to finally, you know, vent his anger, let out his emotions, and allow Senku to kind of talk to him about it, and maybe come to some form of consensus to where they can actually work together. And one of the big things I do want to point out is that Magma as a character, I do think that the only reason why he hasn't left the group, the village, is because he deep down does probably care about the village, and he doesn't also want to be killed by Tsukasa, so that's kind of why he's probably stuck around and listen to Senku at this point in time. But I do think that, you know, there is going to be some things that need to be done to really win him over completely to where he truly can be happy. So, I think I'm going to kind of wrap up this video here, though. It's been a really interesting discussion, honestly. I've really enjoyed talking about Dr. Stone this week because it's fascinating talking about technology, to the light bulb, Senku's thoughts, etc. It's really fun. But I'm going to leave you guys at that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. With that, Chibi out.